Deputy Broughan, you're next.
Well, obviously, Minister, Brexit represents one of the biggest challenges to the state since 1922, and as I said in the first debate we had on it just after the Brexit vote in this House, I think we should have a Minister for Brexit, and I think the Fianna Fáil party maybe is taking a similar position now, that it's so important and critical to our future that we should go that way. Now, I can see in the budget certain monies that you put forward to address this, for example, the farmers' loan, or the loan in agriculture, the continuation of the 9% VAT, which is very expensive, but we have tourism already from the UK is down, I think, 12% in the last few months. The actual figure you put in, though, for Brexit per se is very small. So I just wonder, how do you interact with the Taoiseach's committee and what kind of funding is going to be necessary in the next few years? Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy. So in relation to the Taoiseach's committee, the question the Deputy concluded with, I'm a member of that committee. I attended a further meeting of that committee this morning, along with Minister Murphy, and it is a committee that I anticipate will be meeting even more frequently in the coming weeks and months. And in that committee, I have to update the Taoiseach and other ministers regarding work that I'm undertaking in relation to dealing with the consequences of Brexit. You have acknowledged already, Deputy, provisions that were in the bill, in the budget, to deal with the consequences of Brexit, whether it be funding that we've put in place for the Regional Development Plan, the Rural Development Plan, funding that was put in place for agriculture. The VAT 9% rate decision was taken in the context of Brexit and the effect that could have on our tourism and service sector. And I've also provided additional current funding to allow Enterprise and the Enterprise Ireland and the IDA to hire more people to work abroad to represent our companies. So they're measures that we have put in place to deal with the consequences of Brexit. In relation to the need for a Brexit-focused minister, I mean, I respectfully take a different view to the Deputy on that. The reason why is I think this is a matter of such importance to the state that I think it's more appropriate that it be headed up by the Taoiseach. And I know some other countries are taking a different approach. I'm keeping an eye on the other approach to see if that's working elsewhere. But mindful of how important this is, I do believe the only way this can be done is to be headed up directly by the Department of the Taoiseach. And he holds all ministers to account for action steps that we have committed to in relation to dealing with Brexit.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy.
Thanks, Carla. But it's likely, obviously, when Article 50 is actually triggered next spring, that the challenge will intensify and grow, more deeply. I mean, we have a particular responsibility, I suppose, to our own workers and to jobs in this country, to agriculture. Nobody has hardly spoken yet about the common fishery policy, for example. My own constituency would have an interest in, and the fact that there may well be profound changes in that area. And most of all, I suppose, in the future status of Northern Ireland, the fact that we want Northern Ireland to have a special status, and that clearly Brexit has huge implications. I mean, the desire of this House always, I suppose, was to have a national union of our country, and hopefully that that will happen. But obviously the circumstances that are now evolving in the north, with the responsibilities the executive has there in Scotland, even possibly in Wales, in England itself, I mean, it may well accelerate the situation. So I just ask you if, have various departments come to you and asked you to provide perhaps some additional resources as the whole Brexit process intensifies next year?
Yes, they did, in the context of the discussions that we had in relation to the recent budget, particularly the Departments of Enterprise, Trade and Innovation and the Department of Agriculture, but particular focus on the issue of Brexit. And indeed, with Mr Bruton, much of the focus that he brought on the development of the third level education sector here was in the context of the challenges that we would face with Brexit and the pressure that our universities will come under and our institutes of technology will come under in the coming years. So yes, it was a way in which additional spending requests were made to me. I did my best to respond back to them, and it played a big role in the decision that we made in relation to the allocation of funding for education and in relation to where we ended up, in particular with agriculture and the funding for state agencies such as the IDA and EI. And yes, you are correct, when the actual decision to trigger Article 50 takes place, it will have further consequences, not least of which should be in the run-up to this, it becomes clearer to everybody the nature of the Brexit that the British government is looking to achieve.
Thank you, Minister.
And sorry, the Fisheries Policies Deputy was only discussed as recently as this morning, and it is acknowledged as being a significant issue of concern.